A very good day to you. Welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Jadel Kabiro. Absolutely excited that you've joined us for a political conversation. This very day conversations that are very simple, truthful, and biased with Herman Manyora, who puts them across in a hard-hitting way. He's here. Herman, how are you doing?
Wonderful.
Still on your phone?
No, just trying to, somebody's talking about this country in a negative way. And I'm just telling him no.
You're addicted to Twitter nowadays. But let's talk about the politics that is happening in the country. The president is under fire right now from different lobby groups, human rights groups. They have come out and say, look, you're telling people that they should leave the country, go to jail, or they should go to heaven to deal with corruption. Is this something you expect to hear from the president?
Mtu yeyote ambaye anapanga ati kuiba pesa ya serikali, my friend, tafuta nchi ingine. Mimi nimewaambia hawa wakora wote, wezi wote, matapeli. Nimesema hawa watu mambo yao ni tatu. Si ndio? Either wahame Kenya, ama waende jela, ama waende mbinguni. Hakuna dawa ingine. Sijui kama naelewana. Mnataka mtu akuja aibe pesa yetu hapa? Mimi nalete pesa hapa 500 million inapotea. Nalete 1 billion inapotea. 500, kwani sasa? Hapana. Hapana, ikai namna hiyo. Sijui kama tumeelewana. Mmekubali wezi wote tuwafukuze? Maneno ya wezi ni ngapi? Wahame Kenya, waende jela, ama waende mbinguni. Maneno hiyo imeishia hapo.
The president is who he is, and we know him. He's a tough man. And he's impatient in some instances. So why are we expecting him to be different?
Is it being different or just
straight talking, straight shooting? Yeah.
But the standards, if you are the president, you should at least have some standard, don't you think? You don't come out and speak the way you want to.
But you can't change who you are sometimes. It is who you are.
What is the big deal now when it comes to dealing with corruption? Because he's talking tough, and it seems like the courts are not willing to help him, as he says, because if he's threatened to kill him.
Akiongea kama Uhuru Kenyatta mtasema tena. Kenyatta asema mtaka nifanye nini? So you want Ruto to do the same? He's being different from Uhuru Kenyatta. He just says, I'll look for you. I'll go after you.
Is this the only way of dealing with corruption? Kama Uhuru alishindwa. Is this the only way?
But Uhuru said, what do you want him to do? The institutions were there. He could not do the work of ODPP. He could not do the work of DCI. He could not do the work of EACC. He could not be the courts. What did you want Uhuru to do?
We want to make on the president is to not only withdraw and apologize for those very, very unfortunate remarks, but also to allow the due process of law to take its course to its logical conclusion.
We implore on religious leaders and all Kenyans of goodwill to come out and condemn the attempts to return our country to the dark ages and to depart from the rule of law.
Ruto is saying he cannot be held prisoner and hostage by those institutions. If he has to change this country, he has to fight this corruption in this country, then he will not allow himself to be held hostage. Yes.
He goes outside the law to deal with corruption. Should this be the case?
You may use any language you want.
But let me then ask you this. How do we deal with corruption in this country? Because, you know, from time immemorial, this is the only thing that we talk about in every regime. Corruption, corruption, corruption. How should we deal with it?
You know, there are many ways of dealing with corruption. It depends on how fast you want to move, how you want to attack, but above all, how genuine you are. The leadership of this country from 1963 has been part and parcel of the same corruption we are talking about. So it's very difficult for the same leadership to convince me that they can fight corruption. Because the structure of our political system is such that it is the political leadership that is the same one in the business world. So your typical politician is your typical businessman. So the interests will always clash.
Okay.
And therefore, unless we come up with a different structure, the existing structure that means we have a businessman who is at the same time you are a politician. And given that business and corruption would seem to be going together, the conclusion is simple, that the leadership we have cannot effectively fight corruption.
Then what needs to happen for us to change this system as it is? Is it changing
There
the
are ways.
constitution?
Let's say there are two major ways. One way is radical, and you know that's where I belong myself. The other way is gradual, you know, progressive, where you systems evolve until they change. So if you are Manyora, you'll be radical. And because you have no baggage, you have not been compromised by anybody, you have not stolen, you are not corrupt. You just wake up one day in State House, if you are the President Manyora, and you say, Kuiba Kenya hii meisha leo. Before I come for what you have stolen, please don't attempt to touch even 1 shilling. The consequences will be dire. Watch hii Ruto anasema, mine will be worse.
Should we amend the constitution and give the president all powers to go beyond the institutions?
No. Judge, it's a question of seriousness. You know why people steal in this country? Because they know nobody is serious against corruption. They know. They know they'll get away with it. If they knew there were consequences, nobody will steal. Only a few mad people will steal. Because there are a few people who are so daring, you can only conclude they are mad. Okay? Or a few extremely smart fellows. But in this country, even the most stupid person steals public funds because they know there are no consequences. Yeah. So you make it a very painful experience to go through if you steal. But before you go that, the gradual one I was explaining is you can you ask yourself, why do people steal public money? Let me tell you, human beings by nature are not as bad as it might appear. Some very good people can be pushed into corruption because of the circumstances. There is a book called No Longer At Ease by Chinua Achebe, in which a young man called Obi, very upright man, but he finds himself in circumstances where he takes a bribe. Okay. So let me tell you two things. Most of the money people earn in this country goes to education. That right?
Yeah.
For the children. If you made education free in this country, two things will happen. First of all, people will have enough money to spend and grow the economy. Secondly, the demand for the demand on people that may push them to corruption will go down. There are some people who will ask a bribe where they work. As they are taking the bribe, they are feeling very bad. You know, to take a bribe, you feel bad, I'm sure, if you are a human being. Especially you are taking from somebody who may not even afford it. So people will have less pressure for corruption if they are not paying fees for their children. Number two, where do money go? Money goes to health. So if you give people free, quality health care, the need for corruption will significantly be reduced. And you can go on and organize good transport. In many countries, like even developed countries, transport is highly subsidized. For example, train service. Trains don't make any business. Government just gives so that people can travel. You come up with good housing projects, not kama yao ya hii na it was housing ya ukora hii. Yeah. So once you have those things in place and provided for people, either free or very affordable, you'll be surprised how corruption will go down.
People are just good people.
People are good, but sometimes unarudi nyumbani, unajiuliza hiyo watoto niliwacha, how life is them. Na kuna kamutu hapo kanafukuzana na faili yake. Namwambia wewe chota bwana.
Kakupitishia passport.
Unaona? So you do those things and then you also make it very difficult for people to steal. How do you make it difficult for people to steal? You come up with systems. You create systems. For example, when Kidero became the governor of Nairobi, merely going into collection of money using this electronic payment, even parking, they were collecting 10, 15 times what they used to collect before. By merely coming up with systems, digital platforms and things like that. So you improve those kind of things that make it difficult for human beings also to steal. And then finally you become a very bad man like Ruto. You say you steal and see what will befall you.
When he was campaigning, one of the things he promised to deal with was state capture. 1 year down the line, have you seen him dealing with this
You
state
can't.
capture?
But I said you can't. Remember I said you can't. I said you cannot. I said these are the same people. You may not be directly involved as Ruto or as Uhuru or Raila or whatever, but you are part of that system. Hiyo mtego ukitupa, hata isiposhika mguu yako itashika ya mtoto yako, ama ya bibi yako, ama ya rafiki yako, because they are the same sack.
So there's nothing we
Kwa
can...
hivyo huwezi tupa kakitu hapo ndani,
Itakupata pia.
katakushika.
Well, thanks for tuning in into a conversation on corruption. President William Ruto promising to take people to heaven so that he can deal with corruption. Until we do talk again, have yourself a lovely rest of your day.